All right, it's 5 past. I think we can get started. Let me share my screen. So, this is the second community call. Um, and yeah, we're here to vibe and also have a small building session where Carla will take us through some of the documentation and some of the steps, like a crash course around how to sort of build the first cartridge. If you're, in the Discord here, just so you know, we're recording this session, and yeah, if you're watching the recording, then you probably already know. But yeah, come join us in the Discord if you want to ask questions, if you want to chat about RIVES, and we welcome you guys to come and join these calls. I think we're going to try to do them regularly. So yeah, please join. Again, any thoughts on playtest 2, please drop them into the chat. We've made quite a lot of improvements on the tech side, on the platform. Things should be a lot smoother than in the first few days last week. And we had a new challenge, which was an Ancopter challenge with what was it called, Carlo? The cats, five cats.
No, it's be swift as a cat, and just like a cat, you have 9 lives to go as fast as you can, and go pick up all the berries that you can, and reach your highest score by going as far, as fast, and picking up as much berries as you can.
Nice, yeah, it's a great game. Eduardo's in the chat. Eduardo made that game as well. So probably all of you guys can try to make a game like that at some point. Would be cool. I'd like to try at least. But yeah. So where are we now? We had the first week of testing with focused more on Doom with map 2 to 4. This week we're doing the Ancopter 9 Lives contest. And next week we'll have another play testing session with another game, but we won't reveal that yet. We'll share that on Monday. And then we have a game jam coming up on the 17th, so next Friday already. And we want to get people to try to build something on RIVES, and hence also the documentation is live now, and it's really actually readable. And nice to go through. I would recommend that. And the idea is, like, for this jam, you can build something solo. Often fantasy console devs build something on their own, but you can also join a team. And we will be sharing a few ideas that we had of projects, and you can try to join those and collaborate if you want, or just build something of your own if you're into that. And Carlo will, as I said, go through this crash course that might be a good intro as well for the game jam in a bit. We also have the feedback form number 2. So we have these weekly feedback forms. We're trying to track like overall satisfaction with RIVES, with the platform, and also ask you some questions around how well you understand RIVES, if you found any bugs, if you what kind of features or feedback you have. All of that you can put into this playtest form. You can connect to your Discord and wallet as well. And we're keeping track of that and trying to obviously improve every time. Really appreciate if you could fill that out. Actually, this should be phase 2, yeah, but it's a very similar form to phase 1, just with focus on phase 2. And the game jam, right, with $1,000 in prizes, focused on really single player retro games with a scoring system, ideally, so something that can lead to a score, some form of metric, because that can then also be used for leaderboards, etc., later down the line. And we have also some restrictions in terms of the size of the game, to allow you to focus on building and not necessarily making unnecessary decisions. All of that is in the itch.io page. I'll share that, or we'll share that in the chat in a bit. And yeah. Oh, wait, let me see. Can you down voice of music a bit, please? I'm not playing any music. Not sure if it's... you guys hearing any music? Oh, maybe Halo, maybe you have some music in the background. But yeah, that's it for the game jam. And just as a quick recap for those that weren't here last week, we're building this on-chain fantasy console. And if you're not familiar with fantasy consoles, there are these, virtual consoles, sort of like emulators of consoles that don't exist physically. So they're purely virtual, and they allow for rapid development and enhanced creativity because you're building within constraints. And essentially, they allow you to build really fun games that are playable anywhere that this emulator can run, right? And obviously, we're using Cartesi in the background, so all these games essentially just, Rives can essentially run games that compile to RISC-V as long as they fit, within the constraints of the fantasy console. The really cool thing is here we're on chain as well, right? So the beauty also, is that you can actually potentially sell and distribute your cartridges as tokens. And every gameplay, so every time someone plays and wants to submit that gameplay on chain to prove that he created it, that it can also be tokenized and collected. So you start having some really interesting dynamics there where, you're building a cartridge, you're building this game that, might be available to everyone. You're selling it like, as a kind of traditional cartridge with like unlimited access, or maybe you're going for a more scarce approach or selling it on a bonding curve. That's up to you, but essentially players need to own your game or your cartridge in order to be able to generate gameplays or tapes, which again, these tapes will be, people can go ahead and collect them as well and mint them a bit like traditional NFTs. So you get this really interesting sort of system that sort of rewards creativity in a unique way. And in the background, every gameplay log is captured on the browser inside of the Cartesi machine, then submitted on chain, and then replayed and verified on a Cartesi rollup, where it is then published and generates this tape for you. That's it from me, and we're going to go to Master Carlo now for an amazing crash course. I'm pumped. Carlo, the floor is yours, or the mic is yours. We'll stop sharing.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen just a second. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So let's get started here. So the idea here is a crash course on how to build a game. So the idea is, how do I get started? Well, it's pretty easy. First, you must set up your dev environment. And that's just strictly downloading RIVES and using it to develop your game. You can also download a special Linux distro, which has the SDK on it if you want. That's optional, though highly advised. Then you can create a simple Hello World cartridge that basically does nothing but starting a Hello World screen. From that, you can build your cartridge and execute your cartridge. And that's the simplest thing you can do to build a cartridge on RIVES. Okay, so setting up your dev environment. We have this binary that Eduardo put together, which is available on GitHub, and you just have to download it. And once you download it, you can just set the right execution permission. And after that, it's very advisable for you to add it to your path. So you can just create a directory, move it there, and add to your bash RC an export that will make it available. Okay. As I said, you can also download the RIVES SDK, which is this special Linux with extra tools for debugging, for creating some stuff that's interesting for you. And in order to install it, you just have to download it. Once again, you have a binary available on GitHub. And then you can store it on the same directory that you store RIVES. And you can also add this export of this RIVES variable, so that RIVES knows where the SDK is. Now, let's go to the first cartridge you write. So basically a hello world file will look like this. So you have to include riv.h, which is libriv. It's this really simple C library that wraps around the functionality that the RIVES machine offers. So it has all the interfaces to draw stuff, to play sounds, to capture player input to input and output data from your execution, and it's all wrapped nicely in here. So you need a main function, and on this main function, you can just use this RIVEMO interface, which is Rive Clear, and set the color black. So you set your entire screen to black. And then you can use another API from Rive, which is drawing text. So here we're going to do a simple hello world. We're going to use the default font that comes with Rive. So it's this Rive spreadsheet font 5x7. We're going to write it centered and using color white. And after we do that, we just have this loop in which we present the screen. And that's it. If you do that, you have your first Rive program. Now, in order to build your cartridge, what you got to do is, besides having your code of your application, you also need an entry point, which is what the Rive will execute when it loads your cartridge. So a really simple entry point would be this entry sh file that we're creating, which starts with a 0. And you can just put in it rivegitc hello.c. So if you do that, you're not even compiling beforehand your game. You're just using this just-in-time compiler that's shipped along with Rive, which is Mir. And with that, once you run your cartridge, your game will be compiled on the go and will be executed. And once you have your entry point, you can just build your cartridge. So in order to build your cartridge, you can use this command of RIVEMO, which basically makes this squash file system that contains the entry point file, your hello.c file, which has your hello world, and outputs it to a cartridge file named hello.sqfs. Okay, so now you got your cartridge executed, right? So if you use RIVEMO and just pass your cartridge as an argument, well, you execute your first cartridge. And here you have, it's on loop, but it's basically, yeah, we have someone want to make a question. Sure. Coin future?
I think you probably clicked by mistake.
Yeah, no worries. And that's it. You have your first cartridge here executing. It's on loop, so just booting RIVES and showing the hello world. So congratulations. You made your first cartridge and executed. What can we do now? So there's plenty to do now. So one really cool thing we have is this playground page that's available on the docs site. So you have code in there, and you have a Cortez machine running there with Rive inside, in which you can just live test your code. So this is a pretty simple code. It's a bit more complex than the hello world, but still it's pretty simple. So you have your loop right here. And in your loop, you're checking if the player pressed either one of the arrow keys. So up, down, left, and right. And according to that, you're updating the position of this red dot, which right now it's called max. If that red dot goes beyond the threshold on top of the screen, well, you say that max is lost. If it goes below a certain point, then you say that you saved him. And that's it. If you reach either the top part of the screen or the bottom part of the screen, you either save or you lose max. And this playground is really cool because you can live edit it. So right now we made just a change and said that it's no longer Joe. It's no longer Max, sorry. It's actually Joe. Forgot to change this one. Let's change this one. And when you re-execute it, now you see that the red dot is Joe, no longer Max. And you can once again live test it. So this playground is really cool to tinker a bit and just test it right away. So I highly advise that you guys give it a try, test a bit, play around a bit. You can use it to test any of the Rive API. And it's a really nice facility for just testing stuff without even having to install it or anything. Another really cool facility that we have is this page in which you can just drag and drop your cartridge and you can test it. So it's available on emulator.rives.io. You go there, you pick up that cartridge that you built. In the example I gave, we just built this Hello World cartridge. You can just pick it up, drag and drop in here, and it's just going to execute. It has some nice facilities, so you can go there on the bottom and you can replay whatever you played. You can restart it. You can stop it. You can put on full screen. You can speed it up to the execution. And you also have that last button here, which brings up some nice statistics. So with that, you can just see how much CPU resources you're using and other things. Now, a nice thing to do is also making more complex stuff. So this Hello World was pretty simple, and also the example that we had of Max/Joe either being lost to the deep sea or being saved on the beach. But on the Rives doc, we also have a really nice tutorial for creating a more complex game, which is a snake game. So it goes just from the basics, in which you just boot the cartridge and you just have a title screen, and you go through having the title screen and also a game over screen, up to later you actually draw an apple. Finally, you actually have a tiny snake that can eat those apples. It doesn't grow yet, but you can eat it up to the moment you crash. The tutorial keeps going on, and now it tells you how to put some extra code in which it allows you to grow your snake. And right here, we just have a basic version of the classic snake game. It also goes around and makes this game a little bit more beautiful. So it shows you how to actually use sprites instead of just drawing basic geometric figures like circles and squares or rectangles. And finally, it ends up with a version in which you have a score. So in this version, the score decreases with time. So it's meant to stimulate you to go as fast as you can. And whenever you eat an apple, you get extra points until the point that you die. Okay. So this tutorial is really cool. And the doc site itself, it's pretty nice. So besides all the explanations, we also have all these embedded Rive frames. So this is actually a Rives emulator that's running inside. It's Rive, and you're loading the code for each of the parts of this documentation. So right here we have just a video of one of the steps of the snake tutorial, that part in which we just have a really, really simple snake that goes around and doesn't grow. Another really cool thing that you should do is that in there we have a special cartridge in which you can create sounds. So a pretty interesting part of making your game is designing the sounds that you're going to use. So explosions, start, collection sounds, all this stuff. And on this cartridge, just using a couple of keys on your keyboard, you can just create random common sounds, and then you can tinker with them and then use those on your games. The Rive machine also has a pretty extensive API. So it has all the things that you need to build your game. You have these functions that can draw circles, that can draw boxes, rectangles, lines, points, sprites, as we use on Snake, for instance, or text, which is the simplest thing you can do. We use that on the Hello World example. It also has all the functionalities of drawing the audio, playing the audio. So you can use these waveforms like sinus, triangular, square waveforms, all this kind of stuff. And you can load those from this sound cartridge that I just showed. And it also has additional functionalities that you need on your game. So like generating random numbers, using a color palette by default that we have in there. The definition of all the user inputs, like the gamepad moves or the keys that you press on your keyboard, all of that is documented on the riv.h file. This is the API for the Rive machine. and it's available on this URL on GitHub. Now, after that, well, we just want you to be a part of the community. So we want you to have fun building and playing games. Whatever you can do in there, generate tapes, and these tapes can be shared. And later on, we'll also add the marketplace, so you can actually make some revenue with it and gain some money, or even invest, like Max said, if you have a tape that's sold on a bonding curve, for instance, and you're an early adopter, and that appreciates, then you can make some money with it. We would also love if you tell your friends about RIVES. So spreading the word is really important to us. If you have any issue with anything, we have this special build channel on Discord. You can just go there, and as fast as we can, we're going to address your problem. If you found some bug, or you find something is hard, or you liked something, or you have some suggestion, well, we have this feedback channel on Discord, and your feedback is gold to us. So please don't be shy. Don't worry if you think something is stupid. There's no stupid questions. If you have something that you think it's a stupid doubt, it's probably because it's not easy enough to do it at the moment, and we should improve the documentation. We should improve the API or anything. So never be shy. Have any problem, just go in there, ask for help. And if you have any feedback on something that you think it's missing a step, it's going too fast, or anything like that, well, please tell us. And if you want to contribute to RIVES itself, well, we're really cool, and we'd like that. So you can just go to the GitHub and submit a PR with anything you want. It can be a bug fix, it can be a fix on the documentation, it can be a new feature, whatever you got. We're really happy to have it posted. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much an overview of how you can get started, a couple of the resources we have. On the docs page, there's extra stuff in there. So there's optimization of cartridges and other more complex and advanced concepts. And yeah, we're pretty much pumped, and we want to see what you can pull off on this first game jam. Back to you, Max.
Thank you, Carlo. That was amazing. So now we want to open up for questions, and I'll ask some questions as well, because I'm not a developer, and this sounds like really fascinating, and I want to build a game as well now. It sounds like I could try to build something, right? Potentially. Carlo, if I wanted to build the Snake game, could I build that in the playground? Or do I have to do the installation and everything like you described at the beginning?
No, you could do most of it on the playground. You just have to stitch together the code, put it on the editor, and execute it. But for generating the cartridge itself, you should download the RIVES and use it to generate your file.
Got it. Because RIVES, how do I enter? Is it like, it's not a program, right? It's something that would run in my terminal?
So RIVES is the actual fantasy console, right? So RIVES is the entire on-chain platform that you can prove your gameplay. You have some stuff around it, like marketplace, like the tapes that you can watch and all this stuff. But at the core of it, there's this emulator, which emulates this fantasy console, and that's RIVES. Okay. RIVES has this interface to it, as I showed, which is the libriv. And the API for this libriv is available at that riv.h. And then we have all these goodies that Eduardo shipped on Extended OS, which is the SDK. So once you download it, you have some additional stuff that you don't need when you're running your cartridge that are just good for development, like debugger or tools to build audio and stuff like this. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Got it.
Is there a way to create a turn-based PvP game? Yes, but it's a bit tricky. Because right now, our focus is on the single-player games. Because when you go to RIVES.io, You just download the cartridge. When you run it on your browser through WebAssembly, it's recording your every single move. And when you're done, it picks up that log of all the moves that you did and submits on chain. If you want to do a PvP game, then it means it's multiplayer. So if it's local multiplayer, you can just have the input from multiple controllers, and that's fine. It's going to generate a single log file, just like if you're a single player. If you want to do it on different machines, like using network, then I'd say you still have to wait a bit, because that's something we have on our roadmap. We want to have some goodies, maybe some state channel or something, so that players on different machines can communicate their moves and all this stuff and play together, and later combine that log and and put it on chain for achievements, score verification, and everything. So I hope I answered your question, Fabio.
Can we talk about the music app a bit more? I think that's really, really cool. So it's a cartridge of its own, as far as I understand. How do I use the sounds after in my game? Do you know how that would work?
Yeah, Eduardo can talk a bit about it. Go on, Eduardo.
So when you use it, you see some settings, set some settings. Then you can copy those settings to your game code.
Oh, I see. Okay, very cool.
So it's an application to help you find which settings you should use for a different sound.
Got it. Okay, interesting.
So right now is basically for you to design your audio and then you copy your parameters manually.
Yeah.
In the near future, we should have an export function which just exports the sound for you.
Yeah.
Nice. I think Lino asked a question as well. How can I develop using other languages, especially use JavaScript and Python?
Okay, so the first thing is that JavaScript and Python are heavier languages than these system languages like C or Zim or others. But you can use any language that you can use on RISC-V. The thing you gotta do is you gotta pick that libriv, and you gotta do a wrapper for your own language. So on Python, you have the CPython bindings that you can use and just export it so you can use in there. If you go the Python route, it's better for you to go with MicroPython or a lightweight version of the interpreter, because that's going to save you a lot of CPU. And well, since we're on that hook, when you're developing for RIVES, you have this limit on the number of cycles that you can have on your session. And that's because if you don't do that, we'll basically it can get very expensive on doing the validation, and you could even potentially crash the app chain, right? So you could just submit a gameplay that never ends, for instance. If you did that, you'd never go through the next gameplays. So that's why we have a limitation, and given that limitation, it's best for you to use as little CPU cycles as possible, but because that's going to make it cheaper to verify your games.
How easy is it to say Pico 8 games? So there's some that I like and I'm inspired by them. How easy would it be for me to look at their code and try to replicate that on RIVES?
So it has different interface, right, than the Pico 8 console. So basically what you have to do is the same stuff that Eduardo did to port Doom. You pick up the game logic, you compile it to RISC-V, and besides that, you have to update the bindings of the interface. So that means that the input from the player, the audio, and the graphics should now use the RiveMu API. So once you update all the drawing on the screen, all the playing sounds, and the collection of user input, that should be enough for you to port the game.
Okay, so that's porting. But what if I wanted to be inspired by a game, essentially because I'm not a developer, right? But like if I looked at like other, I get that it's not the exact same format or SDK, right? But I assume that I would be able to use a little bit of the logic, at least from a like theoretical point of view, or not.
Yeah, the game loop itself, in which you have your model and you emulate your gameplay, that you can reuse directly. The problem is the interfaces with the hardware itself, as I said. So the simulation logic, you can pretty much just copy and paste it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if these are dumb questions, but another one would be, can I use Snake and turn it into Flappy Birds or Flappy Snake? Kind of like, by maybe changing the physics, adding like obstacles or something? Or is that dumb?
It's a starting point, right? But once again, when you make a game, you have your data representation and your simulation. If you start from Snake, that has a particular way of organizing the data and simulating the game, and you want to do something that's completely different, you probably end up rewriting the entire code. So, right. Yeah, I think it's easier for you to do something a bit different, like, I don't know, pick up the snake and extend it, like add a bomb. If you touch the bomb, you die. Or make apples that have different values, or disappearing apples. I think extending and adding functionality is a bit easier than just trying to use it as a base for a completely different game.
Right. That makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions, any doubts, any feedback? No? So I guess it's...
I'm curious, is anyone planning on trying to build something during the game jam, or I mean, we're not a huge group here, but I'm curious if anyone was planning on doing something. I might do a little something if I have time. But also like hosting and stuff might take a bit of time, but I was thinking like potentially like a Flappy Birds type game, or if it's simpler indeed, like extending Snake would be fun, like you said, Carlo.
Yeah, you can start doing crazy stuff, right? So maybe merge Snake with Tetris instead of having just simple apples that you can eat them all the way. You make these apples with Tetris figures, and you have to eat them at the right angle and stuff like this. So yeah, you can go crazy and experiment as much as you want.
How easy is it to use like ChatGPT to like write some of the logic for me?
I haven't done this in a while, but the last time I tried, ChatGPT was really good at making something that had some sense, but terrible in consistency. So it would make routines that are never called, or create routines with variables that don't exist and stuff like this. So it was more of a hassle of fixing the stuff to make something consistent than doing it yourself. But yeah, you can give it a go to inspire you and to kind of point you to the next point.
Right. Sweet. I mean, I'm hyped. We'll have if there are no more questions, we will start the next playtest next Monday. There's still time to playtest and Copter if you want to, or at least the contest. And the next Friday is the start of the game jam. So hoping to see some of you guys trying to build something. If you're looking for a team, we'll have a game jam channel up later today, so you can form teams as well. And if you have any, as Carlos said, anyone you think might be interested in joining or trying to build something fun, maybe your kids or your parents or your friends that like games and always wanted to build something, or are game devs, that would be ideal as well. Please let them know about the jam. And thanks again for joining, everyone. we will talk to you soon. See you in the Discord. All right.
Bye, guys.